Hello and welcome to the Badger Talks podcast, the podcast that shares interviews with experts from the University of Wisconsin-Madison community about their work, research, and a little bit about what they're like as people, too. I'm your host, Buzz Kemper. November 11th being Veterans Day in America, we're going to focus on University Veteran Services, and I'm happy to have as my guest the Director of University Veteran Services, Joe Rasmussen. So Joe Rasmussen, the Director of University Veteran Services, and of course, we are looking at Veterans Day on the 11th of November, and I want to know exactly how University Veteran Services, first of all, what is the basic mission of University Veteran Services? And as a secondary question to that, what if anything, do you do differently or special for Veterans Day?
Yes, thanks very much for having me.
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, I really appreciate having this conversation. I love Veterans Day. I like the opportunity to speak about the students that University Veteran Services, that my office and our staff takes care of, and Veterans Day is a vehicle to have a interesting and fun conversation, to share. I think behind the military service, who our students are, and then that I think elevates them. But to get to your question about what our office does, it's, we've got a mission, but to really crunch it down, it's to help these students be successful. Veterans and other military-connected students come to UW. They make up a very small percentage of the overall population. We're talking about, in the biggest picture, about 2,000 students at a campus that just went over 60,000. So the population's quite small, but their needs are unique, and the strengths they bring with them are also unique as well. So just helping them get over the finish line. A lot of them, that's graduation. But finding their personal success is a really important part of the mission. Veterans Day is important. It gives us, as I said, the opportunity to talk about these students and really highlight who they are. So I think a lot of people think about Veterans Day as a holiday, and they think about veterans as a concept, but don't always place that military service with an individual.
I know that all students have their own types of stresses and sources of anxiety when it comes to being a university student, keeping up with studies, tests, papers, all the things that are involved with that. Are there unique challenges that you have found with students who also happen to be veterans?
Yes, certainly. So we know the majority of our student veterans start school within 6 months of when they leave active service. So they're in a very structured environment. They wear a uniform every day. They work on a military base. They probably do a job that is dangerous or technical or just has something to it that is that adds a lot of stress. And then inside of a couple of weeks, or for some of our students, a couple of days, they leave that environment. They leave their friends, they leave their social network, they leave their identity, they take off their uniform, and they put on a backpack, and they show up to a campus where they're one of 60,000 students. That transition is very quick. A lot of our students are trying to figure out who they are. They join the military, for some of them, before they graduate high school. They're teenagers. And they come out of the military, and they're young adults who have very unique life experiences, and they're thrown into an environment that they're just not accustomed to. So transitioning from the military is a process. It takes, for some people, years. And our students need to get through some of that very, very quickly. sometimes it's as simple as like learning how to sign up for VA healthcare, which of course is really important. For other students, they've picked up a disability. You can't have a physical or mental disability to join the military, but unfortunately, a lot of folks sustain some sort of injury, and they leave the military a different person than who they joined. So now they've got a disability. Maybe they had a traumatic brain injury from a concussion, and they have to learn how to learn differently and establish disability resources. A lot of them are, for the first time ever, having to do things that they've never had to do because the military does a really good job of taking care of them.
Yeah, and you are dealing with, like you mentioned, in some cases, physical health problems. In other cases, I imagine it's mental health issues like post-traumatic stress disorder, things like that. And UW, I assume, has ways of helping people work through all of these various things. And is that all part of what you oversee? And if so, that seems like a huge umbrella for you to be under.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we oversee that because we certainly can't be everything for everyone, but we do try to connect to everybody. One of, I think, the most important things we do is we ensure that every single one of the students who are coming in get an in-person meeting at orientation. So we go to orientation in the summer. There's dozens of them, and we meet them. We meet them the first time they set foot on campus. And it's at that point that we talk about how to establish their GI Bill benefits. But we also talk about things like choosing academic majors. We talk about how to get connected with those disability resources. We connect them to tutoring, and we also connect them to other students who also have served and are now going to UW. But meeting them up front and being there so that we can establish a relationship is actually the most important thing we can do. Some of the research we have shows that on average, military-connected students, in particular veterans and service members, have less than one other person in their social network that is either a college student or a university staff or faculty member.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very small. So I think a lot of people, when they look back or think back to their college experience, you think about that first week, moving into Whitty or just being around a bunch of new people, and you establish a friendship group. And veterans and service members don't really have those same experiences. And so what we're trying to do when we meet them at orientation is try to make those connections so that they don't have that isolation. That same research shows, and I don't think this is too surprising, that students who know more students do better. Yeah. And right, no one wants to be alone. It's tough to be by yourself. Right. And so, like I said, the best thing we can do is make sure that we meet them the first day that they set foot on campus, and we start connecting them to people who've also served or people who have close family members that have served.
Okay, yeah, help get that social network going. That makes a lot of sense. Now, I would think that the normal trajectory of veterans is they probably got into the military shortly after high school. Then they serve an average of 4 years?
4 is pretty common, yes.
Okay. And then they enroll in university after that, which means that instead of enrolling as an 18-year-old, you're maybe enrolling as a 22 or 23-year-old. I would think that would give them an advantage right there. I did the same thing, although I didn't go into the military. I started working at 18, and then at 23, I decided, my career is going to be at a dead end pretty quickly unless I get a university education. And I felt like I benefited greatly by being a university student at 23 as opposed to 18. Just that much more mature, that much more familiar with who I am as a person, and I was that much more comfortable in my own skin. Does that seem to be the case with military veterans too?
Absolutely. Yeah. Once our students can find their place, they take the skills that they learned in the military and they apply them to their campus studies, and they're very well organized. Right? They're accustomed to getting what needs to be done first, and then moving on to the extracurriculars. Our students are really great, especially in group work. In the military, you almost never do anything by yourself. Teams are everything. And so when they're involved in group work, they understand what it means, how important it is to be a team member. They also bring just worldly experience. A lot of our students who served have deployed or have traveled to foreign countries, or have lived in really unique places on aircraft carriers or submarines, and they bring all of that knowledge and experience to campus, and they share it with their students. A lot of professors will talk about how great it is to have a 23, 24, 25-year-old who has this experience in their classroom, especially during discussions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes absolute sense to me. Do their socializing habits seem to be similar or dissimilar to non-military students in terms of their ability to integrate into the university culture and just feel comfortable? Do they have? I imagine that they have some unique advantages and maybe some unique disadvantages. Can we talk about that?
Yeah. So I think everybody wants to feel like they belong, and there are certain trademark experiences that a lot of Badgers have that are fundamental or core to their university experience. Going to a Badger game, being in Camp Randall Stadium, which, by the way, is a very historical site for military service. Going to Camp Randall Stadium and enjoying a football game, jumping around. That's, everybody wants to feel like they belong. And that's something that, we're lucky that we get to offer our students. At the same time, a lot of them do feel a little bit of disconnection. They perceive that they look older, or that their experiences are so different from their peers that they do have a hard time in some circumstances connecting, especially in their first year at being at the university. And that's where bringing in other students who also have military service, or maybe their parents served and can relate a little bit more, allows our students to make a friendship group that allows them to feel that connection.
What is the most gratifying part of your job? What makes you go home at night and make you feel like you've helped improve the lives of these students, or that you've contributed? That's I imagine that you get that feeling frequently. I at least hope so.
Yeah, I do. I feel it a lot. UW-Madison is, as I say, a big kid school. Mm-hmm. A lot of people grow up in this state, and they look forward to one day becoming a Badger. And for a lot of our student veterans, they have worked so hard to get here. So, they work hard in high school, they join the military, earn benefits that allow them to pay for school. A lot of our students, in fact, the majority of our student veterans, are actually transfer students. So they started somewhere else. so that they could earn the grades that they needed to transfer to UW. And they finally get to the big kid school. And by the time they've got there and they're this 23, 24, maybe even older, they have worked so hard to get there that they're not going to let that opportunity just be wasted. They're serious about why they're there. They study hard. They go to office hours. They find tutoring. They are all in students. And when they succeed, and I attend almost every commencement. Sometimes family things come up, but in my decade plus of working at the university, I volunteer at commencement so that I could see them, and that satisfaction, that almost decade of work after they graduated high school is all worth it. I had a student who I was really close with. He worked in my office. He was one of these transfer students, and he was so proud of graduating. He went to introduce me to his mom, and he said, "Mom, this is Joe. I wouldn't have graduated if it wasn't for him." Wow. Now, Mom pushed me aside and said, "Kevin, get in here. I need to take your picture." Right? Yeah. He's in his cap and gown. But that, I mean, to have somebody say, I couldn't have done this without you.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's true. I'm not the one who's doing the work. They're doing it.
Right.
But we just get to have the opportunity to give them a little bit of a nudge in the right direction.
To have somebody say that is very powerful.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. That is really terrific. Thank you for all you do. And the last thing I can think of to ask you is just, is there something that you think is important that I didn't maybe ask the right question to get to?
Appreciate the invite again. I really do.
Yeah.
I want to touch on the, what I hope people can take out of Veterans Day.
Yeah.
And if you go back to the website, we have veterans.wis.edu. The very top banner is our photo project. Mm-hmm. It's, as I'd said earlier, an initiative that one of our staff members started last year. We've got a newer version, 2023, plan to continue doing it each year. It has 2 pictures. So we ask everybody, students, staff, and alumni to submit 2 photographs, mm-hmm. one with them in their uniform and one with them doing something in their civilian life. And I think that's really important because I go back to, what is Veterans Day? Yeah. And some people might think of, people have different pictures in their head of what Veterans Day is. Mm-hmm. And if you go to this website, our Badger Veterans Photo Project, you can see it's not any one picture. It's a lot of pictures. Mm-hmm. But the people behind the service, a lot of regular people sign up for the military and then do some extraordinary things. And then they come back and they, again, are, our next door neighbors or our cousins or the person who checks us out at the grocery store. Mm-hmm. And everybody's got a really cool, unique, or interesting story. And this photo project celebrates that. It celebrates their military service, but it also celebrates who they are outside of their uniform. Yeah. And when I think about Veterans Day and when I talk about Veterans Day, I'm always thinking about all of these different people and how it takes everyone to make up this group, and just how cool it is that there's so many different people that have all signed up essentially to do the same thing. Yeah. Terrific. Yeah, that's the Badger Veterans Photo Project. Correct. Okay. Badger Veterans Photo Project. We've got 2022 is up. We'll have 2023 up soon. Mm-hmm. And we're going to have to open up submissions for 2024. So nice. Anyone who, again, a student, staff, alumni, faculty mm-hmm. member, we want to catch their story and document that in the photo project. Terrific. I used it, actually used the photo project in one of our students who's highlighted in there as part of my testimony to Congress a few weeks ago. I guess it was or in November now. It's back in September. Gosh.
Okay.
And I try to use it as we're making decisions about how policy impacts veterans, or what's an acceptable tolerance for a delayed payment, for example. I show the photo project to say, if 1% of our payments are delayed, and we've got 100 people, which one's not getting paid?
Yeah.
And it humanizes.
Yeah.
I hope it humanizes some of the decisions. But yeah, it's been a really good tool to try to, again, bring that face out when we're saying veteran. We're talking about all these people.
Joe, thank you so much for your service both in the military and post-military. You're helping a lot of people, and it's appreciated. And I think since we're in the month of where we celebrate Veterans Day, this is a great time for us to think about this stuff and how people both in the military and recently out of the military, the struggles that they're dealing with and what we can do to help.
I appreciate the support, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. So thank you.
You've been listening to the Badger Talks podcast. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Director of University Veteran Services, Joe Rasmussen. Please browse our previous episodes for other topics that may be of interest to you. The Badger Talks podcast is a creation of UW Connects and produced at Audio for the Arts Recording Studios in Madison, Wisconsin. Our music is composed by Bill Purdy and performed by the UW Marching Band. I'm Buzz Kemper. Thank you for listening.